They missed. I'm gonna follow Lysandra.
I'm coming back.
Coming.
Lysandra's up. Has splash. She has splash.
He
fails.
Coming.
I'm on Trundle.
Nice.
Coming.
Let's go. Jin's not there.
That should be a kill as Afro can block all the damage. Sixty continues to run, and he gets away with it. Afro doesn't even die either. True Shot Barrage comes across and into the back line. Wet Hoohie. That's good picked up by him as well as Darshaw, and the teleport's coming through, working wonderfully. Second kill comes through as GVM has dropped off the face of the map. Quas going to be another kill picked up, a 3 for 0. Counter Logic Gaming are going to win this match 2-0 in just over 50 minutes. An absolute slaughter.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You just saw a recap of Game 2 between CLG and Energy as that series has been concluded. CLG victorious in an absolute stomp, a showing of dominance. Game 1 finished sub 25 minutes. Game 2 finished sub 26 minutes. So absolutely insane game times for them to be able to play that quickly, that effectively, 2 games in a row.
Do I get to crack the same joke on stream 1 that I cracked on stream 2, or do I not?
I say go for it. These
Man, they're trying to get you out of here fast again today, as opposed to last night.
Yeah, they saw how long we were here last night. They're trying to get us out early. We appreciate that. But ultimately, yeah, let's dive into this series here. CLG looking a lot better. Of course, just a couple games probably isn't enough to say all aboard the CLG hype train again. These guys are back. We can't say that quite yet, but this definitely is a massive step in the right direction and closer to what we expect to see out of this roster.
Right, they have been struggling, so you think maybe in the series, it is Energy, they're expected to beat them, but you think maybe it's going to be a little bit of a struggle,
tighter,
even if it is a 2-0, but this is a complete stomp. Looks great for CLG. I would say that they got some really good drafts. I think, even in Game 2, we see them last banning the Elise as opposed to the Rise, which is going to have way more impact in the game. And then, who he gets probably his best champion, which is also one of the strongest ones on this patch. So there's some question marks about both drafts. I think Energy kind of set CLG up for success. But at the same time, CLG did a really good job capitalizing with the picks that they were handed.
Right, yeah, exactly that. I mean, we did see, though, Energy came into Game 2 with a plan. And for the first 10 to 15 minutes, they were executing decently on it. We saw them with a kill lead and a slight gold lead. So all in all, that's fantastic. But after that 15-minute mark, there seems to be a breakdown in strategy. It's like the game plan doesn't exist beyond that point, and now we're just playing it by ear.
Right. I mean, they clearly had some ideas to get some mid-pressure at the Rise. We saw, GBM on Lysandra trying to get some picks. They managed to get a couple kills. It was 1-3.
They got an early kill in the mid lane.
Right, and then it was 1-3 after some chase down top kind of situation around the Rift Herald. And then the Dragon's coming up. And it looked like they tried super hard with GBM to get a pick before the Dragon fight, and then it just goes south, and they give up 2 kills on the Dragon, and then from there, CLG, once they got a foothold back into the game, closed out very quickly.
Right, and the breaking point is only 22 minutes into the game, a 3-0 near the mid lane, plus the Baron on the back end of it for CLG. Once again, coming off of an Energy engage. So, GBM looking for that initiate on Stixxay, Aframu, being that tanky Alistar, picking up all of the damage to save Stixxay.
Yeah, it gets in the way of the Jhin ult. The double TP flank comes in from the backside. They just delete the Graves, delete the Lysandra, and it's chased down from here to get one more kill onto Quas before ultimately going back to that Baron. And it was the kind of thing where they felt like, they have this pick comp, they try and go for the pick, and it's just not quite clean enough. And Stixxay is able to get out, not quite die. Afro gets in the way, and then from there, once they blow that much, trying to kill one person doesn't even go well, it's going to go bad. So
Stixxay is going to pick up our player of the game honors on this one. He just outperformed OQ in terms of, just being across the rift from him, out-farmed, out-DPS, just kind of beating him one step in every category.
And his Ezreal was really on point. He had a ton of Mystic shots, sniping people, keeping the slow down, allowing his team to chase through, and also, most importantly, not dying. Which is, Ezreal's good for that, but when Lysandra's flying at your face, it can be difficult sometimes. But he got out, and he has good synergy with Afro.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, Lysandra, you pick that champion to kill ADCs, to kill squishies for the most part.
And with Jhin, too, to help snipe. And the fact that he never really got picked off ever in that game was really impressive.
So good on him for playing smartly there. Of course, the next series that's coming up on NALCS 1 is going to be Immortals, versus APX. So another one of our newer rosters in APX up against the Titans Immortals. These guys have looked phenomenal. We talked a little bit earlier about Pobelter looking even better than he was last split, and that would have been the person that you called the weak link before. That might not be the case anymore. How does APX win this series?
I don't know, because you would have thought that that would have been an okay game plan. We know Keen has some weird counter picks. That's kind of what he's most known for. And you think, okay, let's maybe throw something weird at Pobelter. But he's just playing the standard top 4 mages, Victor, mostly. And so when you're like, what counter picks Victor? There's really not
Nothing.
much. So you expect, you expect him to go with the Victor, something equally as safe.
Yeah.
And then from there, I don't think you're going to look for advantages from Shrimp over Rainover or any. Ray's good, but I don't think Huni is going to fall to him. So their main strength in Apex might get neutralized here, and it's going to be a tough series.
Oh, I like that you bring that up. That we've looked at Ray as kind of that main strength for Apex, and they themselves have funneled a lot of resources into him. We've seen that both succeed and fail at different times. Certain champions he's performing better on, and certain champions he's not. But I think in this particular matchup, I am ultra concerned that my normal game plan is to win through my top laner, and I'm up against Huni and Rainover, right? So Shrimp Ray versus Huni Rainover, when I look at that matchup, I want to give it to Immortals, which just paints a grim picture for Apex, given that that's generally how they win games.
Especially when you consider, what's going on the bot side. Turtle is, I wouldn't say like an aggressive early game player, but as you start getting later in the game, he's going to get more aggressive, where Apollo is mostly like a utility team-focused AD carry. And so you're not expecting him to, maybe switch how this matchup's going to play out. It's not like you have a semi-explosive bot lane. It's mostly going to be trying to feed the team, and that's not going to work when the rest of your team's probably not going to be ahead at all.
Yeah, well, Apex has their work cut out for them if they want to take this series over Immortals, but now it's time to head into game between Immortals and Apex, so let's send it over to the casters as we go while Turtle tells us about this matchup.
To be honest, I thought Apex was going to be pretty strong going into the split, but they've been kind of letting me down, and I didn't think they were playing that well. And I think going against them will be fairly easy for us too, because I think we have definitely improved a lot more during the season, and I think we're in a pretty good spot right now.
Welcome back, LCS fans. I'm Dominic Romer, and at my side to add some color to the cast is Aiden Zyrene Moon. And Wild Turtle already challenging Apex by calling him out.
Yeah, well, he's basically saying that the expectations for them were rather high, and people didn't know where Apex were going to end up in the standings, but they're kind of settling in more and more. It's like they are looking like that 6th place team, 5th place team right now, depending on the performance of like CLG and if Energy get things together. But Apex haven't shown that they're able to compete with the big boys yet at the top.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can do it. We're gearing up for Series 2 here in the Battle Arena with 2nd place Immortals taking on Apex. And the first half of this split, Apex is leveled out in the middle of the pack, as you've just said. We've seen this team excel in some matches, but teams have started to figure out the recipe to their secret formula for success.
Yeah, and that recipe, spoiler alert, the key ingredient is Ray in the top lane. When Apex can get him ahead and get him Rift Herald and play through his lane, they find success almost every time. But teams are focusing him down. They're recognizing that this is a strategy that Apex default to, and they're playing around that. So dedicating more resources into Keen in the mid lane might be an option for Apex, but their jungler Shrimp, this guy, he's hitting a lot of roadblocks right now, and snowballing the rest of his team is becoming a large task for him. The jungle competition, the LCS, is higher, and Shrimp isn't as dominant as he was back in the challenger scene.
Yeah, he's certainly going to have his work cut out for him playing against Rain over here in Immortals. They've had a great start to the split with only 1 loss so far, and by all appearances, they just continue to get better.
Yeah, it's funny because people are like, TSM #1 for sure, Immortals, not as good, but they had 1 loss, and that loss was to first place TSM in a 3-game series that they had the advantage of in the beginning. Like, these guys were very close to being undefeated themselves, and the spread on this team is more even than any other LCS team, with gold and kills distributed equally across the carries. So speaking to the coordination and versatility of Immortals, they can play through anyone on this team. And if we had to poke holes kind of in them, Huni hasn't been standing out like he was last split, mostly due to the increased competition in the top lane. But also the spotlight hasn't disappeared. It's just shifted to the mid lane. The attention is now on Pobelter.
Pobelter definitely has been stepping up for Immortals. You can see an enormous KDA, 8.5 over the spring, 4.1 now over the summer, and still huge kill participation on top of that.
Yeah, and when you look at these, you can see more kills, but way more deaths. but he's not playing the same utility wave backline champions that he was before. He's allowed to play a little bit more of these divey champions, a little more of these mid-range champions. And the fact that those stats are so close is very impressive because everybody talks about how the league has gotten better. And Immortals themselves talk about how everybody in the league is up there now because they're not playing teams that just formed like a week or two before beginning of spring split. Oh, you know, everybody's a summer split team. It's like, no, they're not going to have the same type of dominance that they did before where everybody's going through roster growing pains.
Yeah.
So they're very vocal about that, but the fact those stats are so close means that they haven't fallen off. It's just the competition's gotten better.
Yeah, and trying to help out those mid laners on both sides of this series are the junglers, with Reignover and Shrimp in our featured matchup for today's matches.
Yeah, this matchup is actually very interesting to me because Shrimp wants to play the way that Reignover does. They're number 1 and 2 in CS differential at 10, which is huge because everybody else is like 4 below them. They're like 5.6 and 5, and then everybody else is like 1. So they farm very heavily early. It's just Reignover's able to transition that into more buff steals, into getting inside the enemy jungle, and Shrimp goes for those buffs, and he has more buff steals than Reignover, but he's number 1 in jungle deaths.
Yeah.
By actually a large margin. I think it's like 64, and the next highest is 13 below him with the same number of games. So the sample size is the same. Like, Shrimp is dying a lot here, and it's because he's being over-aggressive.
Well, we'll see if Immortals can capitalize, but now it's time to review the starting lineups. Up first is Immortals. In the top, Huni. In the jungle, Reignover. In the mid lane, Pobelter. AD carry, Wild Turtle. Support, Adrian, and their coach, Dylan.
And on the opposite side of the stage, it's Apex. Raring to go in the top lanes. Man, they play through Ray. In the jungle, Shrimp. Mid lane, Keen. AD carry, Apollo. Support, Xpecial. And coach, Saint Vicious. Always very confident in his drafts.
And we've been hearing from Apex that they are really trying to make a push for playoffs. Their very first split in the LCS. Well, if they show that they can keep pace with Immortals, I just might believe them.
Yeah, and Wild Turtle was talking about how the expectations for Apex were high. They've been letting them down. Well, Apex, Ray is a fantastic player to play through, and they're going to be able to do that every time they can. So that's become predictable. They just need more strategies in their playbook, because the one that they use is pretty damn good. Have you seen that Jarvan? That Jarvan is dirty.
Yes, well, we'll see if that Jarvan decides to get through this time, or if it is going to be banned away, as we've entered into picks and bans for Game 1 between Immortals and Apex. Braum and Karma quickly banned away from Apex. Some huge performances from Xpecial on that Braum. And Apex don't even try to dilly-dally with that Vladimir red side ban. No chance they're going to let Immortals play around that. And Azir banned away from Pobelter. You just saw him doing some jaw stretches as he was getting ready.
So what they're expecting here is Apex to last ban Ryze, Immortals first pick Rek'Sai, and take that away. That's what I'm thinking.
Rumble
And now they've
ban.
left both up, so you have to make the decision.
Bit of a trade-off, but enable Reignover. You can see Huni doesn't even hesitate. Immortals so far have picked their bans and picks within 3 or 4 seconds for each of them.
And now you could pick the Ryze if you're Apex, but that does leave you open to counterpicking, and it's not something that Ray likes to play as much. He's more of the brawler, fighter, jump in, dive. I would actually describe him as having more of a diver type mentality.
Yeah.
Like if I was a top laner, it'd probably be his top laner.
Punch first, ask questions while punching. That does seem like a Ray-style champion. The J4. Does this hurt? Ah! Stabbing
It
in.
hurts when you do that. It's
Yes.
like this- yeah. Stop doing that.
But in answer, it looks like Nami going to be locked in for Xpecial. Shrimp giving us the old Gragas hover right now. And yeah, he decides to lock that in. So a bit of disengage from Apex so far.
Yeah, and it looks as though Saint and the team of Apex are drafting more counter at the moment. Because there was a pinch on supports, take your support early. They took jungle, so you take your jungle and hide and get counter picks. It's one of Keen's specialties. And also put Ray in a matchup that's favorable. But I do think that Immortals take the Ryze here because they go off of tier lists and power picks most of the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these would be their lock-ins here. I think that it makes the most sense to go with Soraka Ryze.
Yeah, some very strong
From the
CC.
outside, of course.
Yeah.
It always makes more sense on the inside.
We'll see what they decide to go for as Reignover giving us the old Blitzcrank cover. Don't think we're going to see that locked in as we get down to the last few seconds. Timer's actually running out, but last second swap over to the Banana Man. Banana Woman.
Thank you.
Soraka locked in along with Rise for Immortals. So as you said, running down the tier list.
Yeah, the Soraka locker right there for them. And then Rise for Pobelter. Like, this guy's been having such great carry performances. Why not secure him the unbanned S-tier mid laner? Because the Rumble ban came through for Apex, didn't want to deal with it in the top lane, and this may be why. The Rise Cassiopeia matchup is a matchup that goes way far back where it was considered a counter matchup at one point, where Cassiopeia, the mid-range, and Rise, the mid-range, and the fact that they both do so much damage, it became this gigantic brawl between the two. And that's what it's going to be for Keen here. I'm a little surprised that wasn't banned out instead of the Nidalee, because it's just been such a potent mid lane pick for Keen, and it's kind of spread across the league.
Yeah, we've seen when he's allowed to farm in that lane untouched, he can be absolutely devastating with enormous amounts of damage. But he will have his work cut out for him. As right now, Rise is being looked at by Pobelter. They might shift that over to Huni and put Pobelter on Ahri to try to deal with that. But
yep. It could be a counter pick, where they think they have the counter pick Cassiopeia, and you counter that because, surprise, Rise is top.
Yeah. The old switcheroo. Well, 20 seconds left for Immortals to show us whether or not it will be. Sivir being looked at by Wild Turtle. And it is locked in, so that's going to be Sivir, Soraka, and the Victor locked in for Pobelter. So that is Huni taking Rise solo in the top lane.
It's the counter. They didn't want to have a slightly unfavorable matchup for them, and now they get something that has a lot of wave clear that puts the pressure on Cassiopeia, who lost wave clear because Miasma changed, and it has a set distance now. So underneath the turret, you have to walk a little bit further back. You don't have that same point, the Miasma right there, and
clear minions.
Clear it out completely.
Yeah. It's much easier now with the Twin Fang, though.
To last hit, yes.
We'll see if Keen can juggle the waves being pushed in by Pobelter, as right now it's the counter. Fiora being looked at by Ray, the ultimate duelist, but decides to take something a little bit safer with that Aurelia in the top lane.
If there's one word I would not use to describe Ray, it is safe. This guy likes to go in, and that is what all of the Apex fans actually hope for, because when he's on point and he's aggressive, then Apex finds success. If he's able to bully the top lane and he's able to bully Huni, who's not been performing the same way or getting the same amount of resources as last split, then it could be the standard formula for Apex, but a winning formula.
We'll see if they can pull it off this time. If they try to run for the 4-man unit +1 split on that Aurelia. Of course, big people to watch out for is that featured matchup between Shrimp and Reignover. Two potentially high-impact ganking champions. Could mean some explosive laning phases. And that's not just because of the explosive cask.
If you're predicting an explosive cast, I got you. I got you. We could do this.
We'll get an explosive cast and the explosive cask. Coaches shake hands. We're about to get underway. Make sure to join the fan vote on Twitter. Use hashtag IMTWin or hashtag APXWin to let us know who you think is going to take this. Will it be second place Immortals or fifth place Apex? Looking to bring us into this next set.
And Immortals, they want to stay at the top of the table. TSM, well, they're trailing right behind them. And if they fall further and further behind, if at all, then, honestly, their legacy and what they weren't able to accomplish last split with making it to the finals becomes a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And Apex, on the other hand, they still need to get to those playoff spots. CLG just won their matches and is 4-5. Immortals versus Apex, uphill battle here. Right? Odds are against them at the moment, and they could end 5-4 and put a little bit of distance between themselves and CLG.
And show that they would be able to play with the top teams by taking a win off of Immortals. A lot of that We'll see if Xpecial can pull it off. We actually asked Xpecial what he thinks of his opponent's support on Immortals Adrian.
He's all right. I mean, last split, his champion pool was decent, but he didn't play Alistar. It was the most broken champion in the game. And this split, Alistar is not as strong, so his champion pool is fine. So, I mean, he's just a player that can only play a few champions, it seems like. He mentioned that he has the biggest champion pool in LCS. Haven't seen that one. So, I think he's all talk.
And back on the Soraka, too.
Yeah.
And I loved it because Adrian didn't have to play Alistar. That was the thing. Like, the guy played Leona before. He played Alistar before. I knew that behind the scenes he was a big Windspeaker's Blessing Alistar player with heal max first for, like, a super safe laning phase. And then he was able to bust out the Soraka when she became meta. So he does play it. He just doesn't play it the same way. And he hovered it this game. So... Special. Oh, he is right about the champion pool, but the question is it because Adrian doesn't have to show it, or is it because he just doesn't play those things?
We certainly shall see if Adrian decides to change things up this game. So far, Immortals are just running down the tier list, as we mentioned. And unfortunately, we don't get to see Xpecial and Adrian trade blows this game. At least not yet, as it is a lane swap initiated by APX looking to take that top turret. Reignover is going to be able to clear out his blue buff, so he's not going to gift that over to Pobelter, and Teleport sends Huni to safety to catch up on the other side of the map. So keeping an eye on those junglers. They're both starting on the top side of the map. Reignover slightly more dangerous, but he's able to get away with it for now.
Yeah, but that means he ends up stealing a camp away, because that should be Shrimp's camp. Xpecial and Apollo, they started on this side. They didn't do the same type of invade, and now Shrimp has a bear jungle on this side. And he has to go to the strong side if he wants any camps. He either helps with this push, ganks mid, or he goes to the strong side because he's got nothing for a little bit longer here.
Yeah, going to settle for the Scuttle Crab as Immortals try to get that solo gold onto Huni. Shrimp picks it up and joins up with the rest of his team. But Reignover, as you said, heading over towards that blue buff, pings on my way.
Yep, one of the best things about Rek'Sai is you will know if there's somebody hanging out in that jungle, and it's your strong side as well. You can see Pobelter immediately starts playing to that side. He's going to get gifted a blue buff very early on. And Immortals already in control of this game. They got that bottom turret. Huni now gets a lot of alone time in that bottom lane with the wave. Top lane finally goes down, but you're going to see Huni with a level advantage as well as a CS advantage for a bit of this game, because the lane swap is definitely going in Immortals' favor in just terms of pace and camps taken.
We mentioned that Shrimp was one of the best at stealing away those neutral buffs from the enemy jungle. Well, not successful this game, as Reignover seems to have his number. Stealing that away, continuing to get some deep vision on that side of the map as well, so might look to return there at some point in time, try to pick up a dragon or something.
Ooh.
And Apollo actually is able to sneak by that ward.
Yeah, stealthy, but I think that Huni, as soon as he sees it, he's still going to back off anyway, and they don't have the support there. The support's the big one, because the support is usually the CC. And he has to walk over Scuttle Crab, so Xpecial is going to get spotted out as well. And now Huni will back off, but not before getting 19 CS.
Yeah. You can see the difference. Ray on the other side, without that vision, only down to 8.
But like, look at the 80 carries. He basically has the 80 carries CS at this moment, and that's honestly brutal if you're Ray, because you're already put far behind by about 200 gold. Huni was able to stay in that top lane at the very beginning, pick up some CS, pick up some experience, and now Apex, they're going to have to make some plays to get back into this.
Ooh, Apex trying to collapse onto Pobelter, but Pobelter turns it back around. Shrimp going to be stunned as the bubble misses and eats a lot of damage from Immortals.
Yeah, it looked like got him just with the edge there, and then the gravity field is a unique type of stun because it freezes you. It stops your character movement and model. So looks like it stopped him there in the body slam. Most stuns during a body slam will hit you and you'll continue the animation until you reach your destination. But with things like the Victor, with Vent Horizon, things like that,
Pulls you back in.
yeah,
There is no
freezes you.
escape.
I forget the actual technical term for it.
Interrupt?
No. There's an actual technical term for it when you freeze in our game like that.
Oh. Well, lane swap does continue. Immortals faster are able to clear out that top tier 1 and already send their duo to the bottom side, which means Ray is not going to get anywhere near as much time as Huni is on the opposite side of the map. Ray, is able to clear that minion wave out in time, but already you can see Adrian, doesn't stop that recall. But that's a long time for Huni to get that solo experience in the top lane, and in fact, APX are sending their duo to the top side of the map. So Ray is just going to be forced to sit back and eventually catch this wave, as it will eventually crash into the tier 2.
Now, the other option is Ray goes in the lane up against Huni, and that's not a good option for him right now either, because of how behind he is. I know it's a tier and just a mana crystal for Huni, but it still converts into damage for him as Rise. So it's a little bit scary for the Aurelia.
Now Ray trying to sit back and catch what experience he can as the wave is building up. Shrimp is in fact on the other side of the map. Actually, he's currently invading into Huni and Reignover's side of the jungle. Gets a couple of deep wards down. They might look to trade these tier 2s. As Reignover clears out his camp, already level 6, 16 CS ahead of Shrimp over the course of this jungle.
And they're both the CS differential at 10 kings of the jungle, and it's because they have those types of moves where Reignover starts on the strong side, or his weak side of the map. Huni helps him out with a leash, then runs top, and Apex didn't even walk into the jungle to really stop him.
Yeah, not sure if this is working out quite so well, as Immortals definitely getting the better of this lane swap. You can see a clean 1,000 gold ahead. They're going to be able to take this bottom lane tier 2, and they've got a fresh minion wave catching up with it. Ray is still trying to defend. Apollo, left all alone, isn't going to be able to answer with a tier 2 of his own. Immortals could try to break down this inhibitor turret. Here comes the rest of Apex, but it's already down to half.
Ash arrows flying across the map. This is a gigantic minion wave. They're going to have a lot of power here to take this turret down. And
the bubble catches Huni from across the map. He goes down. Shrimp gets first blood.
From downtown, Apollo with the arrow and a special with the bubble to prevent any escape there from Huni. Cross-map play, and that may just get Immortals, may get Apex this top lane turret, tier 2, and not lose their inhibitor turret. Contesting the blue buff, but Ray wants a piece of this.
Oh, flash miasma. Keen goes in, but he doesn't have any help. He drops. Adrian gets the kill with a banana. Huni on respawn will group up with the rest of his team, and Apex bit off a little bit more than they could chew. Huni, he's going to be able to lock Ray out of this. Can't retreat towards his team. Let's see who they're going to try to gift the kill over to. Reignover is going to secure it.
That was really aggressive there from Apex. Like, honestly, you just needed to wait for Apollo to get that top turret and catch these minion waves, because this minion wave is a minion wave that Ray needs. He's got 19 CS, and now they get to just push that all the way into the inhibitor turret again, have it bounce back towards Immortal's side. And that's a lot of gold missed out because they took that opportunity and it ended up backfiring.
So Immortals able to answer back. 2 kills to 1 and the first Cloud Drake. Here's that fight once again. Keen way too far forward.
Yeah, gets exhausted as well. They use a whole lot on him, but he gets blown up, and he tried to make a good play. He tried to make it so that Immortals regret their decision to try and contest that blue buff, but they just don't have the items just yet, especially against the Soraka, because her health bar, when she transfers it over to somebody else, is pretty much I want to say 1.5x. So she really is a big battery for her team. So you need to be able to kill the team like 5.5 health bars, and you don't have the damage to do that at that point. You have to have really good AoE. Keen could have had it happen with his Petrifying Gaze, but it just didn't work out.
Immortals now group is 5 in the mid lane with Keen recalling. Whoa, Reignover gets pulled in. Body slam is denied, and Shrimp gets picked off by Immortals.
Shrimp still had flash as well, but able to get completely locked up there by Huni. Pobelter, he was the one who was trying to actually create a play or scatter the minion wave. I feel like these plays need to start more off of arrows from Apollo just for the time being until Shrimp gets a little bit tankier. Because when you're sitting on just Runic Echoes as Gragas, you have no HP items. You're sitting around and no resistances. It's purely the offensive part of Gragas so that he can stay toe-to-toe with a lot of early game junglers. So he's basically paper. It's kind of deceptive.
Shrimp, ooh, not going to head towards that camp. Gets denied his own Direwolf and his own Grom, as both he and the enemy trade out that jungle camp. Reignover, you can see now, even in CS. Oh, arrow down the mid lane. Misses Pobelter, though.
That IQ.
Apex try to regroup as 5. Xpecial eats a lot of damage. Miasma prevents the chase from Pobelter, though. So Xpecial is able to walk away nice and safe.
Yeah, throwing out the ultimate there, the Chaos Storm onto Xpecial just to kind of chunk him out. It is a Nami, so she's going to be able to heal up. Pobelter, he's running a little bit low on mana himself. His blue buff is up in almost a minute.
Yeah, he's also 5 levels ahead of Xpecial, so maybe hoping for the optimistic Thunderlord's burst as Reignover. Whoa.
Almost, but Reignover's tanky.
Yeah, bubble misses. Reignover, as you said, already getting tanky as Huni continuing to stack up, build towards that late game rise.
This always happens with Ray. Ray is always behind, and then you stop paying attention to what he's doing for a couple seconds, and it's like, wait, how's he back up here?
He caught up.
Hey, he caught up.
And Shrimp did the exact same thing.
Yeah. Like, they've just been farming these side waves, but it wasn't even like the wave momentum was like pushing towards them very heavily. You could see this wave on the opposite side of the map that Huni pushed in is going to crash against this bottom wave, and they're equal. They're equivalent at this point.
Yeah. Still seeing about a 2,000 gold lead for Immortals, but not quite able to convert it in stats just yet as they collect the blue buff. In fact, Apollo is going to be the person who last hits it. And Immortals still currently looking ahead in this, getting the better of the lane swap and getting that first Cloud Drake. We'll see if they can continue to propel this advantage. Taking a look at that featured matchup between the junglers, it is level 9 to level 8. Pretty even in CS, pretty even in gold.
Yeah, it's just those levels. It's that disparity where Reignover is just farming a little bit better. And Rek'Sai, just as a pick, of course, higher up the tier list than Gragas for pretty much this reason. You are much safer, you're tankier, you can roam around the jungle no problem. And they're both playing it well at the moment, but it's just going to be focused on who gets those engages, because they're going to be primary engagers for their team. Also, Pobelter finished Hex Core upgrade all the way, so his Chaos Storm a little bit faster here. Good to see that. I actually think that's the correct way to go. Get that movement speed on it. And the other thing I wanted to touch on here was Ray. He got back in the game, but that was because Huni grouped up mid. Right, when they sieged that turret and he got that kill onto Shrimp, Huni used a lot of his time to do that, and he lost the bottom wave, which went to Ray, and then Ray immediately swapped to the top side and got that wave. So they're giving Ray all of these resources on the side lanes, but he doesn't get a Rift Herald.
Yeah, so Apex continuing to try playing to what has worked for them in the past. Let Ray shove those side lanes and get towards that late game carry that he know that he can be. Ward cleared out. And as you just saw, Rift Herald was picked up. Apex go for a quick invade, but Reignover is the one they find. Not exactly the best member of Immortals to try bursting down.
He always does this too, where he gets incredibly tanky. And it was funny because I watched a game where he went Gragas, and he bought Rod of Age's first item, and then he went Cinderhulk. And I asked him about it later on. He's like, it's just the tankiness, right? You feel useless later on if you have Runic Echoes. So I just build this first, and then I'm more useful to my team as a tank. And that allows Huni to play something squishy. It allows the rest of the team, like Adrian, to also play those range support, because Reignover is your tank. He is going to be your soaker.
Yeah, Immortals catch Apex while they're recalling and are finally able to drop down that mid-tier 1. Apollo, though, did not recall.
Looking for the snipe.
Yeah, he's spotted out by the Tremor Sense, though. Don't know if that ward did see him, but he was looking for the enchanted crystal arrow. Mountain Drake has spawned, and this would be huge to both teams. Cassiopeia already so good at bringing down the Baron. With a Mountain Drake, it would just augment that ability.
Yeah, don't even have to have it poisoned anymore. It will do more damage if you do, but the cooldown is always low. And the Mountain Drake, there's a Scuttle Crab in favor of Apex and the gold advantage in favor of Immortals. Oh. One of them is a little bit better in combat. Spoiler alert, it's Immortals. The combat stats, especially since it's like a completed item for Wild Turtle.
You can't just spoiler alert and then say what you're saying.
That's how spoiler alert works. I tell them right before.
Didn't have any time to plug my ears.
Gotta find a better way to keep yourself spoiler free when you hear it then. It's not my fault.
Yeah, Shrimp spots out Immortals, trying to sneak that Mountain Drake. But they don't fall for it. Miasma finds some good damage onto Rainover, but he heals right back up. I say good damage, it was not good damage.
Depends on definition of good.
Yeah.
It would have been good damage if it had been on Adrian, so technically the damage itself is good.
Yes.
The person it was on was bad.
I mean, it's a question of perspective as well. Do bad guys consider themselves bad?
No, they actually don't. That's I'll talk about that in a second. No.
Oh, good spell shield. But Ray decides to go in anyways. On the hunt means that Apex have got to turn around.
Yeah.
They've got no tier 1, and Huni's still splitting in the top lane.
So they just traded the ultimate from Apollo for the flash of Pobelter because Ray went in and he didn't even have to blow his flash to get out. So Ray came in from the side, flanked him, and he's looking for more of those types of plays without losing too much on the side.
Yeah, Immortals, though, are going to try burning through this Mountain Drake. There goes the gravity field. Special in the front misses the bubble, down to 2,000 health.
Shrimp, Eels,
That is a late teleport. Mountain Drake secured. They try to pop onto Pobelter. Special eats a lot of damage. Keen snared on the side, forced to flash the wall. Adrian in the back, trying to heal himself up, but finally goes down. Rainover running as fast as he can. Pobelter did fall to Apex's onslaught. Slow is going to miss as Immortals split.
and they lose 2. They get the Mountain Drake, but the engage from Keen and Shrimp, knowing that Pobelter has blown his flash because of the Ray dive earlier, is what set that up. The body slam flash, pretty much undodgeable at that point, throws him back into the team. You think that Shrimp is going to go for that dragon and try to smite steal it, so Pobelter puts himself in a different position, but he ends up exposing himself to the team, tries to get a counterattack. We're going to see that again right here. Shrimp hanging off on the side, body slam flash, cask back, got it off before Adrian got the silence. If Adrian had gotten the silence, it would have been absolutely perfect, and it stunted that, but then Keen comes in with all of his damage. Apollo has the slow, and then they get a whole lot of summoner spells, all of the flashes except for Wild Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have On the Hunt either at that point. He'd used it previously in the mid lane.
Yep. That's 2 kills for Immortals and the Mountain Drake. Well, 2 kills for Apex, excuse me. And the Mountain Drake for Immortals. Still a slowly growing gold lead. Now it's nearly up to 3,000. Rainover clears out the ward.
It's down a little bit here.
Yeah,
we'll see.
He's going to have to time it. Ooh, Cass catches him before he can drop the tunnel. There's the silence field, and Immortals escort Rainover to safety.
Yeah, he was trying to time it because if you hit him while he's tunneling, it'll stop it, and that feels bad. Feels bad.
Whoa, that definitely feels bad. Apollo did use his arrow.
Yeah, he's dead, but it says he has 2 HP in the bottom left. Look,
Yeah.
he lives on in our hearts. But yeah, Apollo used arrow, didn't have flash or anything like that. I mean, low mobility for himself, and Huni able to run him down.
Oh, this turret already took a lot of damage earlier, and Immortals, with that AD carry gone, finish the job and clear out that inhibitor turret.
They do a decent amount of damage to that inhibitor, too. It'll heal itself up, but it's only about 7/8. We'll see. Ah, it was in the bush.
Ah,
The unseen Huni.
yeah, is the deadliest.
Yeah, this is why Rise is really strong. I was really surprised that last set it was falling through picks and bans as well as the Vladimir.
Surprise!
In the previous set, the Energy CLG one. And yeah, surprise.
Yeah. Not surprise.
Sup, Rise?
We're not Freak. But right now, Immortals have got control of the game, now up to a 3,500 gold lead. Again, it is slowly growing. And Apex, despite trying to make some proactive plays and fighting for these dragons, find themselves losing tiny objective after tiny objective. And Immortals are growing their advantage.
And sometimes it's they make a big macro play in the beginning of the game that ends up backfiring. Apollo's trying to take that tier 2, and Immortals just push straight through because they have the superior minion wave management, and they get the inhibitor turret to a point where you come back and you kill it. So they lose some big objectives as well. Right now, it's not like they're bleeding a whole bunch. It's just the fact that you have an exposed inhibitor at 20 minutes, it's an awful sign for the potential that Immortals have for this map.
Oh, yeah. Apex, though, they do have that safety in Keen. We've seen them in this sort of late game. We can't really fight mid, we can't really fight early, but we've got Keen on the late insurance of Cassiopeia. So we'll see if they will be able to bring us to a nice late game and defend against Immortals, but you will have to deal with Sivir charging Immortals into them.
Yeah, and the big thing you have to worry about is the Victor and the Rise. Like Wild Turtle, Sivir is not a huge threat until a little bit later than this, and then she becomes this gigantic ricochet crit bot. It's around that IE where she really shines, and she also neglects the lifesteal item. He went Warlord's Bloodlust, so he can survive laning phase and doesn't have to buy one. But Ray's going to be trying to blow up Wild Turtle. That's probably going to be his goal here, as it looks like Yomu's is in store for him, and Shrimp rightfully building magic resistance. And this is the conundrum when you face a team like this on Immortals, where as the diving top laner, do you kill one of the big threat magic damage dealers, or do you just kill their only AD threat and then build MR? Because if you do that, then you can kind of shut them down, depending on how far ahead they are. But if you can just straight up just kill Pobelter, then do you take that opportunity instead? So it's always these split-second decisions and choices based on who's near you and what you can accomplish. And it's gonna be hard to kill Pobelter though, because double exhaust for Immortals.
Yeah, you make that decision-making sound so easy.
I just make the decisions present, but making the decision is very hard. There's a lot of elements that go into it, right? Like, does Pobelter have exhaust? Is Adrian kind of nearby? Because the double exhaust will shut you down. And they're going to save one for Keen as well.
Yeah, that Cassiopeia stacking up. 2 items in with the tier building rather quickly. Apex, middle of the pack team. So far, they've been defending, keeping afloat, but Immortals really just playing the patient game, not making too many mistakes outside of that fight at the Mountain Drake where they were caught unexpected by Shrimp engaging on Pobelter. But now the next Drake has spawned. That would be another Cloud Drake. Huni's already got the pit.
Yep. Hawkshot goes through. They're already starting it. It's already halfway dead, and Keen is not there, so this would be a bit of a mistake to contest.
Yeah, Immortals pick it up, and with the speed boost chase forward, Special tries to turn it into a fight. Arrow catches Rainover in the front. They're able to split Immortals up.
Here goes Ray from behind.
Taking a lot of damage, though. Can they try to get these kills? Wild Turtle is getting some pretty big crits, and Immortals are able to turn it around. Flash from Huni catches Shrimp, and he goes down.
Immediate turnaround there. Keen, I'm going to have to take another look at that Petrifying Gaze. Ray gets right in on the action, and it looks like the Petrifying Gaze happens when everybody's turning around because the teleport has already started and it scared them off.
They're doing the Baron. Immortals are doing the Baron. Yeah. 25 minutes into the game, Shrimp is dead. Special racing towards the pit as fast as his fins can get him there. Drops a pink ward inside. Here come the rest of Apex.
They don't have ultimates
There's no
either.
Arrow, there's no ultimate. Ray, he tries to steal it over the wall, but does not succeed. He goes down as the Baron is picked up by Immortals. Keen eats a laser. That's a Rylai's on that Victor. That's a lot of slows. Rainover chases, gets the knockup. Keen snared, will drop. Pobelter with the kill.
Oh, it's such a awkward situation as well. We'll talk about that in a second. Apex back up here. The wave goes across a lot of people, and it's just like, oh, Special's going off. These look great. Rainover hit by an arrow. And then here comes Keen with the Petrifying Gaze. There. Only hits Rainover. Hits the tanky member. They're already in retreat. And then Rainover ease out, so they can't even focus damage on it, and then they pick up Shrimp. So overall, couple of ultimates there wasted because they didn't have the damage at that moment, and then it was at the turning point. And that's what made Immortals go back in, is because the Petrifying Gaze was used, and it was essentially wasted. And now Immortals have the Baron, and Shrimp dead, but Ray tried to contest it. I think you just flat out go for that fight. You saw how low Adrian got from having to heal people. Pobelter got incredibly low as well. You could have killed 2 people off and had a 3v4 if you played it correctly, and Apex decided to dive. It's a hero play.
And Keen caught by the snare, arrow comes across, but Wild Turtle crits and picks up the kill. Huni drops the exhaust onto Ray, who will fall as well, not able to dive the back line. However, Adrian was successfully killed. Wild Turtle with a double kill, and Immortals are just cleaning this game up so quickly from 0 to Nexus in 6 minutes. 6 special falls, and that's an ace onto Apex. Immortals have got Baron buff and a minion wave. They're going to try to end right here, right now.
Yeah, they're going to be able to end this, Dom. 15 seconds on Keen. Immortals are going to stay atop the standings for right now. Of course, just 1 game, but they come out of the gate swinging.
Yeah. Taking their time at the beginning of the game, just waiting for the small investments to pay off, and then their payday came. 25 minutes into the game, winning that team fight, taking those Drakes, and cleaning up the match. Immortals have got to feel good about that one.
Oh yeah, taking down Apex in 27 minutes. Immortals take game 1, and it was really clean halfway through the game onward.
Yeah.
There were a few mistakes early on. Apex had a lot of opportunities that they didn't take, and the arrow was hilarious at the start, but it was still a play that shouldn't have been happening on Apex's side. And they shouldn't have needed that to happen, because that inhibitor turret should not have been in that situation. They should have, like, their waves were not bounced properly from the get-go. Not checking the jungle, Huni gets this advantage over Ray, and now there's double exhaust. Like, they're going to shut down Ray. Like, the double exhaust strat against Ray is probably going to be the strat to shut him down, because they didn't need the TP mid. They weren't even, like, against another TP mid laner. So I think that Immortals played very intelligently around the strong points of Apex.
Yeah, this really seems like this is something we continue to talk about Apex time and time again. They play around Ray. He's remarkably well when he can get off the ground. But if they shut him down with something like double exhaust, or by camping his lane, or just putting him in a bad situation, it's so hard for Apex to bring it back.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Pobelter for a second here as well.
Yeah.
Because Apex, they have this one guy they play through right now, and then maybe they can play through Keen a little bit in the future, and that's what they need to work on. But he's still up against Pobelter. Like Keen, he's got a good laning phase. He's a little bit back and forth ahead in CS. And Pobelter is still getting a counter pick. He's able to play the Victor. He's able to blow up people in these fights. He's one of the best Victors in North America. And his champion pool is just growing all the time. He's able to play these things. Like, there's questions about Adrian's champion pool from Xpecial. There shouldn't be any about what Pobelter's capable of, because he plays what the team needs.
Yeah, he certainly does. But we're going over to the analyst desk for more on that win. But first, we're going to check in on Liquid versus Envy.
In the area, but not too close. Try and use their solo laners to dissuade Envy from taking this Baron. This is going to be a bit of a risk here.
Yep, Jin ulti used. Shots fired in. Phoenix also there, ready for an assassination. Lining it up, flashes in, distorts for it, but doesn't quite get it. Baron's too low. NV, they are going to get it. Hakuho actually takes it away. And Proxit just makes it to the journey.
Necessary Baron-empowered recalls here to try and
Lolo?
get Orlo off of the Nexus turret. Great pillar there, and he will just walk away, but gonna have to use the flash as well. Proxon's on him.
Proxon speeds in, he gets the Unburrow, but another pillar going to separate them. Hakuho's still here. Lod wants it. They need to try and kill Lolo. He's got his GA, but no help is forthcoming. But he just can't be stopped. Lolo's too speedy.
That was such a small dodge, but such an important dodge. You mislead them. They thought Lolo was going to take a little bit of a left turn right there, and he dodges out that binding as well. But man, Lorlo's coming up huge.
Getting a quick little look in there on Immortals versus, or rather Team Liquid versus Envy, which is in a very close match currently. The Baron having just been picked up by Envy, and that one secured by Hakuho. So a little scary moment.
That was
there.
very scary. I thought Lorlo was going to TP in, try and challenge that, but the game as a whole has been super back and forth, and it's a great game to be watching. But moving on to our own breakdown of the other series. So.
Right, exactly, yeah. So here we are. We've got our audience from the Immortals Apex series over on NALCS 1, where Immortals take game 1. in a very classic Immortals fashion, right? Which is that they go so ham and they'll take the advantage, but then with just 1K, they're so good at ballooning it and following pretty decisive calls to victory against this Apex squad.
Right, and kind of also true to form, there's some mistakes along the way where
Right.
it's like it's dominant, but like, oh, maybe that wouldn't work this other time. But it always seems to work the right way for them.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily look clean, but it is dominant still. And it's an interesting dichotomy there to have both of those characteristics be true about your game, as you see Immortals on your screen now discussing strategies moving into the second game against Apex. But a 27-minute victory, another quick victory on the day here, and I want to dive right into it. In terms of champion select, let's go ahead and look at this. We saw the Nami first rotation along with the Gragas from Apex. Neither of those champions scream priority, especially when Rek'Sai was already picked up. So usually what that means, right, is that, well, we just don't want to show our solo laners.
I think they were really focused on counter-picking this game, which is something that makes sense given that we talked about how important the top lane matchup was going to be. They want to make sure that they get him, Ray, in a position where he can potentially carry, as well as I think we also addressed that Pobelter is probably playing a lot better than Keen, and you want to avoid getting a counter-pick matchup there. So by kind of giving away priority picks, they're hoping to get counter picks, and that's an interesting trade-off. Not sure one I'm down with, because we saw that IMT Immortals very intelligently took Rise and then swapped it to avoid one of the counter picks, because they got the Cassio for the Rise, and they're like, nope, we're taking Victor, and now you can counter pick the Rise top.
Right.
And so it was a very interesting draft.
Right. I mean, and it's tough because we see exactly what Apex is trying to do. Okay, I respect the fact that you guys value the counter picks and getting solid 1v1 matchups for those laners in terms of your winning strategy against Immortals. I respect that decision.
Right.
But the flip side is that Immortals then very intelligently, as you mentioned, makes that swap happen, says we're going to avoid your counter pick anyway and end up with just across the board stronger champions in the current meta. And so you kind of shot yourself in the foot there, Apex, in terms of being gimped from just a pure power standpoint across the board. We dive into the game itself, as we mentioned. The Immortals, they actually got out to a small gold lead after a few picked up kills. They pushed all the way to that inhib turret at 8 minutes, where they actually trade one kill back in that greediness that you mentioned.
And then that's why it's so weird for Immortals, is like they're super ahead in tempo, they're pushing as far as they can be pushed, they give a kill away, but somehow they, Apex probably wants to punish them even harder, not happy with just the kill, they TP in, and then they get turned on two kills back to Immortals. And that always seems to be how Immortals games go, where you're not quite sure why it's happening that way, but it's always ending in Immortals' favor. Like, even just last week it was where Team Liquid gets a 1-for-0. Next thing you know, it's a 2-for-0. It's the exact same situation. Things always seem to fall back into Immortals' favor, and it would be unfair to say, like, it's not because of them. Like, Immortals plays things extremely well, so.
And that's one example of Apex looking for ways to get back in the game, a little over-aggressive there in that TP. An example of where they successfully clawed back a little bit would be 18 minutes into the game, 2-for-0 around the Dragon Pit. Apex is going to pick up a couple kills here.
Great engage by Shrimp there to get Pobelter kind of isolated right away, and they're able to burst him down. Not as quickly as you want to, especially gets low, Apollo gets low and they have to flash out, but enough that they're able to kill him, and from there, they don't have a traditional team comp with a bunch of tanks. They have another Rise in the top lane who's still able to put out good damage, but it really should be this thing where people are scared chasing this backline of 3 really high damage characters, and when one goes down, the comp kind of falls apart. So really good engaged by Shrimp there.
Yeah.
And then it was just pretty free after that.
And I think that really the point of the replay is just to say that plays like that need to happen more for Apex in the following games if they want to take the victories off of Immortals. They need to have that kind of clean execution around the fights that they can intelligently pick up, as opposed to the TPs that then net advantages for Immortals. Now, before we jump into player of the game, just a quick update. Over on NALCS 2 between Team Liquid and Envy, 38 minutes into the game, Dardoch steals the Elder Drake. Just happened, so keeping the game very close. Liquid arguably have a slight advantage at this point, but that game still is going to come down to the wire. So head on over to NALCS 2 if you want to check out how that first game of the series will turn out. Back over here on Immortals versus Apex, player of the game is going to reign over. I mean, this man's a monster. He always has been. But a lot of those early advantages, a lot of the reasons why Immortals does come out in those early brawls is because he is always in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I don't think you can find a smarter player in the league than him, at least in terms of doing the right thing always seems to be right place, right time. The weighs like the pros and cons very well, where he'll know that like sometimes he might be sacking something one side to get an advantage somewhere else, and understands those trade-offs extremely well. And so you'll see them sometimes give up a dragon to snowball a top lane, or do the opposite, get him a Rift Herald and lose some CS bot side. He always seems to know exactly what he's doing, and that's why you see him pick up so many of these honors.
Absolutely. High kill participation, showing up the right time, countering Shrimp pretty much around the map. So just having his number, as he does with the majority of junglers in the
Not too
North
many who are
American
like,
LCS.
Rainover against Rainover.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, we've already kind of covered maybe some adjustments that Apex can make in Game 2 as they're having this same discussion themselves outside. For them, I think I agree on the champion select point. One, we're moving to blue side, so we're not going to have as many options to counter, so maybe that'll help themselves not pick into that kind of funky strategy. And then number two being that they need to find more engages like that replay that we saw, where they're intelligently picking the fight with all the information that they have and executing on it perfectly.
Right. It is a very interesting thing to think about, because they had to ban a bunch of those priority champions on the red side, and moving blue side, Keen's not really known for them, but maybe they can drop those bans in favor of something else, and can target some more Rainover-centric stuff. I think he's not that bad to look at for some bans, because taking away the Rek'Sai, which is like his staple champion, and when you don't have to worry about mid lane bans, it could be very good for Apex.
All right, well, that's going to close out Game 1 of the Immortals versus Apex series here on NALCS 1. NALCS 2, Team Liquid looking to close out the game against Envy. They've almost done it. Slight goal lead around 41 to 42 minutes into the game. So if you're looking to see that Nexus explode, go ahead and hop over to NALCS 2. For now, though, stick around, because we've got Game 2 between Immortals and Apex coming up right after the break. We'll be back in just 3.5.
Still need to get to those playoff spots.
Welcome to Seminars Rift. Welcome to the LA. Welcome to Seminars Rift.
A lot of power here to take the start down. And
The bubble catches Huni from across the map. He goes down.
They're engaging. What? What is this? We're okay. Wait, Casio root. Silence him. Oh, I got one shot. On Aurelia. Help saver. I'm good. Ash no flash. Nami flash. I think you guys can end here.
Immortals are going to stay atop the standings for right now. Of course, just one game, but they come out of the gate swinging.